How would you respond if I told you that you might be being unkind to your teammates? I want to share an idea or a few ideas from Brene Brown's Dare to Lead book about kindness. Brene says that clear is kind and unclear is unkind. An example of being unclear and unkind is giving someone partial information or half truths about expectations and accountability. That can make us feel better during an awkward conversation, but ultimately does more harm than it does good, and it breaks down trust. Brene gives examples of how she handled it when her team told her that she had poor time estimation skills. And she shares in the book the strategies that she used to work through the conversation with her team when they told her, and how she used her skills to educate herself on how to be better at time estimation and understand why the timelines that she was proposing aren't working out. The first strategy that I wanted to share from Brene's toolbox is curiosity. So when she was told this information, instead of getting mad and yelling, she inquired into what the real problems were. She wanted to learn what and where things were going wrong so she could fix them. So at that point, she goes on to say that the conversation did get awkward, and that's when the next skill comes into play. When things do get awkward and heated, it's good to take a break and come back when everyone is cooled down a little bit. Awkward conversations can be constructive, but when they are turning bad and they're not constructive anymore, that's a good time to start taking breaks. Another skill that Brene mentions is that her team uses permission slips. So they use these little slips of paper and they give themselves permission to do certain things, vulnerable tasks, pretty much throughout their meetings. And so an example of that could be the one that she gives in the book is that someone wrote that they give themselves permission to take or ask for breaks throughout the meeting if it's going to be a long one. So just little things like that to hold ourselves accountable and promote ourselves to be more vulnerable during meetings like that with our team. Another skill or tool from her toolbox that I'd like to mention is meetings. So meeting minutes, sorry. So the meeting minutes, she says she does them differently. So everyone in the room will take notes. Then throughout the meeting, they pause, everyone takes their notes, and at the end, they double check to make sure all the notes are there, everything looks good, and then they share them all after so that everyone knows everything that's going on. And that was said during the meeting. Two more I have left. The first one is turn and learn. Her team uses this. So she mentioned that this could help and put an end to or kind of corral the bandwagon effect and the halo effect, basically meaning that the most high level player in the room, they state what they think is correct, and everyone just kind of jumps on the bandwagon because that person has the most pull. So to avoid that, they'll write something on a piece of paper and answer the question, and everyone turns and reveals their answer at the same time, so they know the honest truth of what that person's thinking, and then they can discuss from there. The final skill that I wanted to share is setting boundaries. It is okay for people to get upset and be upset by conversations, but it's not okay for them to yell or whatnot. So it is important to set those boundaries with teammates ahead of time. And finally, something that really stood out to me was when she shared her story from Dee Dee Halfhill, who used her talk was about using vulnerable language. So using words like lonely instead of disconnected, And by doing that, she was able to connect with a lot of her coworkers and soldiers that she worked with to help them start building connections and get the help that they need, especially because right now our country is facing a pandemic of soldier suicides. So, yeah, using vulnerable language with each other in everyday conversations, professionally and personally, can be helpful to build trust and enhance vulnerability. I think some of these tasks or tips, tools, skills, they do aid in becoming a better leader, because it is easier to talk to somebody when they don't use words like disconnected instead of lonely, if that's not how they're really feeling. I do appreciate it when I'm in those situations and I can use my true language, what I'm thinking and feeling, versus trying to be PG or um, institutionalized, I call it. So, thank you so much for listening, and have a good day.